Welcome, race fans, to another episode of the Rubbin' is Racing Daily Fantasy NASCAR Show. This week, we're bringing you all the action from the Folds of Honor 500, brought to you by Quiktrip. And we've got a lot of race action that we're going to break down shortly for you. As usual, I'm Sean Big Papa Williams.
I'm Jamie Jet Lear.
And we'll be bringing you all the track action for this week's Folds of Honor 500. And we'll start it off as usual. Austin Dillon did awesome things for my lineups last week. Made me some really good money. So I figured I would help support him since I am currently without a driver now that Jeff Gordon's retired. And I'm feeling the need for speed, bro. How are you doing this week, bud?
Good, man. Love the Top Gun look there. It's nice. But yeah, doing great. Coming off a good week last week, and most of our picks that we had, including what Adrian had predicted, came to fruition. So always a good week when you're coming off of a week where you're enjoying the race, but also you're making that money.
Exactly, man. Yeah, it worked really well for me. I won a couple contests. What didn't work out for me, and I feel like I owe this to everybody, is the Truex pick that I told you to avoid. Look, apparently two things happened. He, broke his 22 race streak of not having a top 10, and also the JGR technical specs that they've worked out with him being behind the Toyotas apparently seem to get him into the top more. That's I mean, it's a short sample size so far, but it was just an anomalous thing, guys. Sorry. I'm never going to tell you to pick somebody you shouldn't pick just because they could possibly pan out. That's how you hemorrhage.
Hopefully you weren't one of those players that, like I said, sprinkled in a little bit of Dale Jr. last week, but he ended up, he was, 50?
I think it was 53% owned, basically.
50% owned, so he screwed a lot of lineups in those lineups, but, those things happen.
Yeah, luckily I had just enough non-Dale teams that cashed out, and even pulled out a Dale team that cashed. Like, I don't know how with his negative 33 points, but
yeah.
Oh well, it happens.
That just means you just picked every other driver and was the right pick.
Right. I was that close except for Dale. Yeah. Oh well, man. Well, we've got a lot to get into with this week's Folds of Honor Quiktrip 500. Also, just want to give a shout out to Quiktrip. Like, it's amazing what they do with Folds of Honor and sponsoring the military, like, as their primary charity. It's really cool. We appreciate that. But we've got the new aerodynamic package this week is back on the cars. This is the same aerodynamic package that they ran in Kentucky and in Darlington last year. And we saw basically what I've heard this week, and correct me if I'm wrong, Lear, is that a lot of people are focusing hardcore on this aero package and how that's going to affect these drivers. And I think that, like, what we saw last year, the drivers that are standard, that are just good on the 1.5 mile tracks, are good with this new aero package.
Yeah, I mean, definitely with the new aero package, the reason that they are implementing this is because, they want to bring more competition to the race. So it's going to, put a lot less downforce on these cars, so they're going to be a little bit looser. So it's going to put more skill back onto the driver, as far as the racing goes. And they're hoping that it's going to make, for more passing, where, Atlanta Motor Speedway in general is a good track for passing. So a lot of competition there. So, I'm assuming it's going to do what NASCAR really wants it to do, and that's to, increase, the competition there and put it back on the drivers to actually their skills take over and not so much of the car doing all the work.
Yeah, I completely agree. And hopefully we'll get to see some really good racing out of this.
Yeah.
With that said, we don't have Adrian with us because he is trackside right now at Atlanta Motor Speedway. So we do have his picks, and we will try our best to give you the analysis. It won't be as good as I'm sure he would have for his picks, but I'm pretty sure I understand where he's going with. How about you, Lear?
Yeah, definitely. But hope you're having a good time, Adrian. Love the picks, man. Keep them coming, and enjoy the race, buddy.
All right, Lear, but before we get into the burning rubber segment, give us this week's track breakdown, buddy.
All right, man. So, like Papa said, Folds of Honor Quiktrip 500. It's going to be taking place at Hampton, Georgia, as far as the Atlanta Motor Speedway. The track is 1.54 miles in length, 325 laps to complete the 500 miles. It's a quad oval track. Turns range here from 24 degrees to 5 degrees on the straightaways. Multiple groups here. It's definitely one of those tracks where the drivers are going to be able to pick that particular line that they really like to run. But majority of it will be a lot of side-to-side racing, a lot of passing. Pit stop strategy is going to play a huge part into this race. And the secret here is basically to run the low line, just above the yellow line there on the bottom of the track. Obviously it's a shorter way around the track, but it's also how are you going to be able to control your car when you're down that low, especially with this new aero package that they're laying out again this week from the 2 times they did it last year. But as far as the track, it was opened in 1960. Interesting fact, doing some research here, is 7 out of the last 10 winners all started this race from the 9th position or higher. So 70% of the winners of the last 10 races here have come from the 9th or higher starting position. And as far as that goes too, Hendrick and Chevy have had recent success here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Hendrick Motorsports has had the last 2 winners in Jimmie Johnson in 2015 and Casey Kane in 2014. And Chevy has won 4 out of the last 6 races here. And I'm a Ford guy, but Ford has not won here since 2008 when Carl Edwards took it home for Roush Fenway. So it has been a long drought for Ford here at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Yep, fair enough. I love this 3-groove racing that we're going to see this week. I think it's a great racetrack. We should see some really good racing. And with that said, Lear, let's get into the burning rubber segment.
Hold on. And then also, as far as the time, the race is going to be on tomorrow, the 28th at 1 p.m. Eastern on Fox. As far as the weather, it's going to be a really nice day. 68 degrees, clear, sunny skies. Again, 2 weeks in a row, 0% chance of precipitation. And the winds are going to be west-southwest at 9 miles an hour. So that could push some of the guys, too, as far as the winds are concerned. But, it should be a great race.
Yeah, I think the real problem with what I've seen from practices and from qualifying is that when people get on it, the back end tends to be a little loose, and they're having problems specifically in turn 2, losing the back end a little bit. But nobody's lost it completely, but you can tell that back end sliding a lot. So hopefully we don't see a lot of pileups this weekend, but it's possible with the new aero package.
Yeah.
But with that said, Lear, I think it's time to get into the burning rubber segment.
Burning rubber, baby!
I was waiting for it. Who's your first guy to burn some rubber this week, Lear?
My first burning rubber guy is Kevin Harvick in the number 4. Atlanta Motor Speedway fits right into what Kevin Harvick likes to do as far as racing concerned on a 1.5-mile track, which is his most obviously successful type of track that he runs. He has 19 total wins here. 19 total wins on these types of tracks.
There you go.
In 29 starts at Atlanta, he's got 1 win with 16 top 10 finishes. In his last 4 races, he started 24th, 30th, 1st, and 2nd, with finishes of 5th, 9th, 19th, and 2nd. He has led the most laps with 116 in 2015. So last year, by far, was the most dominant car here. And he's starting from the 6th spot this week. So in my opinion, the 5 cars that are starting in front of him who qualified higher have absolutely no chance whatsoever of keeping Harvick behind him. Behind them. And Harvick's will be up front majority of the day. He's going to lead a ton of laps again. With this being a 325-lap race, that's going to be a lot of, laps led as far as points are concerned for your DFS NASCAR lineup. So, he's the highest costing driver. So DraftKings is obviously all over him too with his price point of $10,500. But you get what you pay for when you put Harvick on your lineup, and definitely Harvick should be owned in all your cash games that you're going to play, but I'm definitely going to own him in majority of my GPPs too. So, but I like Kevin Harvick this week. He's my burning rubber guy. Him and old Jimmie Johnson, they seem to dominate these 1.5 mile tracks, and I'm all over the Kevin Harvick play this week.
Yeah, and I think that transitions well into Adrian's play for you guys this week, which is Jimmie Johnson. Both he and Kevin Harvick are the 1.5 mile an hour track specialists, if you will. They seem to, over the last few years, they've dominated these 1.5 mile tracks. And so my theory is this week is, as a DFS player, you have to decide whether or not you want to go with those two guys. And I mean, let's be honest, you should go with them as a set, like in most instances. Or do you just fade those two guys and hope that the trend that we saw at the end of last year, where they weren't as dominant in the 1.5s, specifically under the new aero packages and stuff, and hope that carries over into this year? That's my question. And I'm sorry, bro, I've got to disagree with you, dude. I think that there's a car in that top pack specifically that's going to keep him behind him. But we'll get to that. Oh, guess what? It's my turn to tell you who that is.
Well, I just want to real quick
to
highlight on the Jimmie Johnson play. He's starting from the 19th position. So he's today during practice, he's one of the faster vehicles as far as the top five. 3 of the top 5 are Hendrick Motorsports guys. So as far as practice times, so I have no doubt in my mind that Jimmie Johnson's also going to be up there majority of this race as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a solid play. It really is. And it's just a question of whether or not you're wanting to be contrarian.
Yeah. And just like that, though, too, he's going to cost you a lot of money. He's $10,200. So,
well, I'm going contrarian, and my burning rubber pick, I'm actually going to give you guys a twofer, and I'm going to say the Busch Brothers. And we'll start off with Kyle at 10-1. And the reason why I'm just not locking into Kyle is I think that this play is basically a must play that just everyone's going to see, right? Like, he's 10,100, but he starts from the rear of the field due to a technical malfunction. His qualifying times didn't happen, but he technically would have qualified first and been running on the pole. So you get literally the fastest car on the track starting in the last position, and with place differential and fastest laps, he should be moving his way towards the front in no time at all. I think it's just a must play. What do you think about that part of it, Lear?
Yeah, Kyle Busch, and as far as clarification, because there was some concerns about, him qualifying in the first position and then being put at the back of the field. And there's been some clarification from DraftKings. They are going to start him from the 39th position. So you're not going to lose all of those positions. So he is starting at the rear of the field, and you're going to get credit for the rear. A guy of that caliber starting at the rear of the field, it's just a no-brainer because he also is really good at these 1.5 mile tracks, and without a doubt is going to get tons of place differential.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's as easy of a play as it gets in daily fantasy NASCAR, in my opinion.
Without a doubt.
But the other side of that equation, the bonus coverage, is the Kurt part. He's 9,200, and to be honest, for who he is at this track, he's underpriced. He has the most laps led at this track with 687. He's tied for the second most. He's tied for the most wins here with 3. He has the second most top 10s with 10 apiece. And when you put both Bushes together on your team, you get 5 wins, 9 top 5s, and so many top 10s I didn't even want to count. Like, I love the pairing here, especially being contrarian from all the people that are going to be on Jimmie Johnson, Kevin Harvick. And it's not really plausible to get all 4 of those guys in this week.
Right, just based on salary, without a doubt. But, yeah, I mean, Busch has raced here, as far as Kurt Busch has raced here 24 times, so he's got a lot of, exposure here to Atlanta Motor Speedway. And he's got, like you said, 3 wins here at Atlanta, with the last one coming in 2010. So, but, the only thing I don't like about it is he's starting up in the first spot. And I don't know, he's been fast through practice. I don't know if I can put all my stock into somebody that's starting first. I just don't think he's going to end up finishing first either. So based on his price point where he's starting at, I mean, I can only really see a ceiling of him possibly getting a little more than 50 points, which at that price point, I'd rather just roll with somebody else that has an opportunity for a place differential. Like I would rather put Kyle Busch than Kurt Busch on my team all day long, every day. But if you want to do that contrarian play, I don't think a lot of people are going to be on the Kurt Busch play.
Yeah, that's part of why I like doing both of them. I just think that may be the pairing that takes down GPPs this weekend, and you'll be pretty much on an island pairing just the two of them. Yeah, I really like this pairing. It's what just I honed in on this week to get off of the Jimmie Harvick train. So I don't know. We'll see if it works out. Hopefully it does.
Yeah, man.
All right, Lear. So with that said, I think that wraps up the Burning Rubber segment. Hopefully we gave you the drivers that will make you all some money this week. Now it's time for the value, and it's a necessity with these top-tier drivers this week. Lear, who's your top value guy?
My top value guy this week is Regan Smith. Last week at Daytona, Regan Smith ran a hell of a race. He started 27th and finished 8th. What a confidence booster for him and his team. He scored 59 points last week at a $5,500 price point. So he was definitely a guy to own last week if you had the opportunity or you picked him, which I'm sure a lot of people did not. But this week at Atlanta, kind of the same deal a little bit. He's starting at the 30th position out of 39 cars, and he has really good history here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Now, granted, he's only raced here 7 times, but his average starting position is 32nd with an average finish of 23rd. Last year, he started 38th and finished 17th when he raced for Stuart Haas Racing. So this year, he's still rolling in a Chevrolet, and his cost has not changed at all from last week. It's still $5,500, and this is just a great place differential play on a tight budget. So he has that Tommy Baldwin Racing team off to a great start in 2016, and I look forward to continue this week at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And I could foresee him, possibly getting within that top 20. So, but he's also a DFS NASCAR guy as well, so I like that aspect of it too. No, I definitely, if you need somebody in a tight spot, Regan Smith is definitely your guy to pick this week.
Yeah, I completely agree, actually, and I wanted to go with Regan Smith until I saw you riding him up, so I decided to go elsewhere. Adrian wanted us to talk about Ryan Blaney.
Right.
Do you have some insight as to why? As I'm trying to cough over here.
As far as Ryan Blaney goes, he actually has never raced here at Atlanta Motor Speedway, so this will be his first race that he's done here. He's a young driver. The guy is definitely one of the up-and-comers on the Sprint Cup NASCAR circuit. But as far as that goes, he's definitely one of those guys that is going to be cheap for you on your team. And he's starting from the 23rd position. So I just think that Adrian probably looks at him right there at the 23rd position. And with him having, an opportunity to come here and race, and on top of that, his price point is, like I said, is pretty good. It's only $6,500. It's a little pricey for a guy that's never raced here at Atlanta. But it's one of those where you're just putting yourself on an island, and he's not starting at the complete back of the field. He's right in the middle, so good opportunity for him to get you some place differential points. I'm personally not on the Ryan Blaney train this week just because there's no historical data here for him. I like to make my picks based off that historical data because what happens in the past is a prediction of what result may happen in the future. But you never know. He could end up being a top 5 guy, and they just like I said, he's a really talented young driver. Him and Chase Elliott are one of the most talented young drivers on the circuit. So, but yeah, that's pretty much everything I know about Ryan Blaney this week at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Yeah, I just ultimately didn't have enough money to get to Blaney. I was either down where with my pick and the Regan Smiths of the world. He was just priced in a weird spot. I either wanted to spend up or spend down. I couldn't find ways to get him into my lineup. Is what I was seeing. You, Lear?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even try to put any Ryan Blaney in any of my lineups so far, just because I think for me and what I want to try to accomplish, there are just better options for what I want to do out there. At like for example, Regan Smith at just $1,000 less and more cost effective.
Well, I'm going to join Adrian and jump on the unknown train, and I'm going to give you Ty Dillon as my value play. And the reason why is this simple. He's the cheapest driver at $5,600. He's criminally underpriced for the talent of driver in the type of equipment he's in. He'll also be behind the wheel this week of Tony Stewart's car while Tony Stewart's injured, which means he's getting an equipment upgrade over being the normal 4th or 5th place guy on the team. But the reason why I like him is in his young career, he has 2 top 10 finishes in the Xfinity Series on this track. He qualified 18th, which is a bit of a concern to me, but he has a history of running, like I said, up near the front. Like, granted, it was a step down in the series, but I think he'll do fine here. Everything I've seen, he seems pumped up, ready to go, and he's also a big DFS guy and admitted this week to his that he has a DFS NBA problem, which I thought was hilarious.
That's awesome.
Yeah, apparently he's not very good at DFS NBA and has been hemorrhaging money. But made a funny joke about it. When I saw that, I had to put him on my team.
Yeah, as far as my perspective on Ty Dillon, obviously with the equipment that he's going to be put into, it's going to be a jump up from what he's normally used to. But he's not running a full schedule here on the Sprint Cup circuit. He is definitely one of the top-end Xfinity guys. And obviously with his name, he's been around racing for a long, long time. The thing that scares me about him is just that 18th spot where he qualified and where he's going to start at. But as far as any price guys that you can get, I mean, you can't get much better than one of the second to last guys as far as putting it on your price. So Ty Dillon definitely could be a play that you can put in there, and he should get you 20, 25, 30 points. And at that price point, you can't get much better than that.
Yeah, dude. If I can get a 20 out of him, I'm going to be ecstatic. And it's just value, plain and simple. That's what that pick is, in my opinion. And you kind of have to.
I think a lot of people, depending on a lot of people's strategy this week, if they're going to put a lot of the studs up in their lineups, they're going to have to pick somebody of this caliber at that price point to stick in their lineups. And I think that a lot of people will probably stay away from the Ty Dillon play just because where he qualified at. So that could completely put you on an island.
Well, and here's the thing, guys. Like, and I understand, like, normally, like, you want cars that are in the back, but like, the problem is at that price point, everyone else that's at that price point runs like a second plus off the pace. He doesn't. Like, he runs on the pace, right around where you want him to be. That's why he qualified at 19th. Like, and his practice laps look good. He's looking good on the track. For the price, you're not going to find a better option. That's just the way it is.
Right.
But with that said, it's time to get to the Going to the Garage segment. Now, for those of you that are new, this doesn't mean that we actually think this guy's going to the garage necessarily, but it could mean that the guy's overpriced. Could mean he's actually going to the garage, or he just has a bad track history, and we don't think you should pick him. So, Lear, who's your guy to go to the garage this week?
First, I want to give Adrian some credit for calling Chase Elliott last week at Daytona, and he literally was the first guy going to the garage.
I know, dude. He nailed it. It was so funny.
But this week, my going to the garage guy here at Atlanta, I'm sticking in the Dillon family, and I'm going to roll with Austin Dillon.
How are you going to do that while I'm wearing the man's hat?
I know. Sorry, buddy, but it's just going to be. It's fact. I looked into my crystal ball, and it's going to come to fruition. I'm telling you right now. Dillon's coming off a nice 9th place finish at Daytona last week. At one point, he was way off the pace in the pack, and I thought to myself, man, I am so glad I stayed away from that guy last week. And then I ate my words because he ended up having that really strong finish and finishing 9th. So, helped a lot of people win their DFS tournament, I think, including yourself. So,
yeah.
Dillon starts this week in the 8th position. He is somewhat cost effective again this week at $6,700. But there is a reason he has come down almost 1K in salary from last week. Is so far in his career, he's just not very good at Atlanta Motor Speedway. He's only got 3 starts here. 26th, 13th, and 15th is where he started, and he finished 19th, 24th, and 39th, and has progressively gotten worse every single time he's raced here at Atlanta. His average starting position is 18th, with an average finish of 27th. He's overqualified for this race. He will finish again in the mid-20s, if not further down. My advice is to avoid Dillon, the Dillon train this week. And also, too, even today, watching the practices, these practice times are in the 20s. So I'm sorry, but I'm not going to play Austin Dillon when he's starting in the 8th position, when he's easily going to end up in the middle of the pack towards the end of the pack tomorrow.
All right. I'm going to completely respectfully disagree here. The problem I have is this, dude, is one of those 3 races he was wrecked, so you can't really count that. And the other a malfunction that put him a lap down, and that's why he dropped back. And the only where he raced well, he went up in the field. And his history of where he runs in this race says that he's a good driver to have. And at his price, I think he's a great driver to own this week. Plus, he's a low-owned driver. I bank on Maverick to get it done. Let him engage, get those engines going, and feeling the need for speed. I don't know. I can't throw out any more Top Gun references. I'm all used up there. But Lear, I think you're gonna lose that love and feeling when you don't have Austin Dillon on your lineups this week. Huh?
I like that. But no, I'm sorry. I can't put Austin Dillon on my team just because even when he had a malfunction. I mean, I'm sorry. That's part of what your team is supposed to do, is put you in good equipment and take care of that. So, but when it comes down to him and here at Atlanta, I'm not seeing it. And until he proves me otherwise, I'm just not on the Austin Dillon train. So
fair enough, dude. Let's be honest, man. We've got no sample size for either him or Ty or Blaney. So when you're going there, you're going to inevitably be making a guess. It's just whether or not you're making an educated guess. And what's funny about DFS is both of us have arguments that are absolutely right. And it's just...
And what he's going to end up doing is he's going to get on that, the communication system, and he's going to say, he's going to hear from the tower, sorry, Maverick, but the pattern is full. And end up going to the back of the pack.
Well done, dude. Well done. I was wondering if we were going to squeeze that one in. That was great. All right. Adrian's pick for you guys go to the garage this week. And if he continues up his hot streak with this, we all need to pay attention. Is Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Lear looks to me like he's picking him because it's an overqualification. What's your opinion?
Oh yeah, I mean, he's starting at the 6th spot, I believe, and there's just absolutely no way. I'm sorry, he's starting at the 5th position. Yeah. There's just absolutely no way that you can pick somebody, Ricky Stenhouse, his caliber, and honestly think that he's going to really stay up there towards the top of top of the pack here at this racetrack. I mean, he's raced here 3 times, and each time he's really fallen back in the field. He started 1st, 26th, and 20th with finishes of 16, 20, and 36. So average start is 15 and average finish is 24. So now last year he did wreck. But I'm sorry, I totally agree with Adrian, and he's just going to be one of those guys that is definitely going to be a guy I avoid and a guy that you guys should avoid as well.
Oh, yeah, dude. Easy pay for me as well. I have no interest. Wasn't even contemplating Stenhouse when I was putting my lineups together.
I mean, it's $6,400. I mean, there's, other guys right around that same area of price point that, a lot more upside than old Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
Oh, dude, for sure, man. And that leads me into my going to the garage pick, which is Casey Mears. Another overqualification for what he does here. He's qualified 15th. His average finish is 22.2. And he has the current record for the most races, 20, without a top 10. there's just zero upside to rolling out Casey Mears this week. It's not going to do you any good. He's cheap at 6,300, but like, dude, this just has negative points written all over it. Like, the guy just proves to you that he loves to like qualify up and fall back at this track, and I think it's an easy fade, man.
Yeah, without a doubt. Casey Mears at that 15 qualifying position is just one of those guys that I liked him last week where he was, but this week it's just hard to take a guy that qualified that high, and I don't anticipate him moving up any further than that 15th position with only one direction to go, and obviously that would be back in the pack. And until him and his team can kind of get on the same schedule, the same page. Because last week he ended up going a lap down due to some issues, but obviously it's Daytona. But I can't, do the Casey Mears play.
Yeah, and honestly, I think his price point being so cheap is going to entice people into making a bad play there. And
sure, exactly. It's $6,100. You're looking at other drivers around that same price point, and none of them have the same caliber of experience that Casey Mears does. But
it's almost like they're baiting you into making the trap play this week. It's really weird.
Yeah, exactly. But some smart folks over there at DraftKings.
Right on. With that said, that wraps up our Going to the Garage segment. It's now time for us to build a lineup together. This lineup will be in the 15K lug nut. We encourage you to use parts of it, but don't copy it, guys. Like, you probably don't want to do that. And if last year was any indication, you'll probably want to be one off from where Lear and I are. Right, buddy?
Or a combo of the both?
Usually one of the two. So, Lear, who do we want to start this team off on? Do we want to make it a Jimmie Johnson team? Do we want to make it a Harvick team? Or do we want to go contrarian with the folks?
Well, I think definitely one guy that we're completely both on and that everybody in the entire free world will be on is Kyle Busch. So I think we need to get on the same level playing field with the rest out there, and definitely I'm sure you're in agreement with that, with putting Kyle Busch on there.
Oh yeah, dude, Auto put him on there. We already got him locked in. So we're down to 79.8 per. Where are we going next, man? Now, in my opinion, we have to decide whether or not we're going to Jimmie Johnson, Harvick it, or go elsewhere with like a JGR or somewhere,
Well, I think, based off of, the qualifying and then also what he's been doing in practice today too. But I don't think you can go wrong again with another Denny Hamlin play at his price point of $9,700.
Yeah.
He's practicing in, as far as the fastest car on the track, but he also has a good qualifying position of 12. And he's got some good history as well on 1.5 mile track. So I think that might be a good way to roll too. But be cognizant of the fact there, folks out there, that based off of Denny Hamlin winning last week, a lot of the donkeys out there are going to just be picking it default just because he is the winner of last week's Daytona.
Right, and cheap. Like, that's the problem with the Hamlin play, because I really like it here, especially with this track history. But you know what? I think we can lock him in here. I already see kind of like a strategy that we can do with this if we want to. So are we just going to fade Harvick and Johnson because of their price? Since we're already paid 10-1 for Busch.
I like them both this week, but on this lineup with the two that we've already got on there, I think obviously you could pick one of them, but we're really going to have to dig deep down and pick people if we end up going with one of them. So I think we should roll with somebody else besides those two.
I don't know. Well, like in that same spirit, another guy that I like that we didn't really talk about this week. I really like Truex Jr., man. That car is fast, and he's been running really good around the track this week.
Yeah, he's practicing very, very high, and he's definitely due, man, for a win.
Yeah, and he dude, and after what happened last weekend, to him, I just that he's got fire in the belly for a win after getting beat by 3 freaking inches. Like, that's crazy. Yeah. So I went ahead and plugged him on our team. So we're starting off with Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, Truex Jr. And we've got $7,000 per driver remaining. I think we should probably go down and grab some value to get more money.
I hear you.
All right. So where do we want to grab our value from? Normally, guys, we love taking value from the Bane train, but Bane train qualified third, and I don't see him leading a lot of laps, and that's what you need out of the cars that you're picking in the top.
Yeah. I really like, to be 100% honest with you, I like David Regan this week at a $5,900 price point, along with Regan Smith. He was one of the guys that I told you to take as well.
Oh, yeah,
but Regan Smith is 5,500, and David Regan is 5,900. But as far as that goes, you could roll with either one of those two. I mean, it's a $400 difference, but both of them are starting back in the pack, and I really think both of them have good opportunity to have some place differential.
All right. Well, I went ahead and put Regan Smith on the team. That gives us back to 78 per, which doesn't get. I mean, that gets us up to Chase Elliott, McMurray, Boyer territory, or we can take another swing at a cheap driver in going with the David Regan, and that would take us up to 97, which basically gives us anybody but the top 4 drivers. We could take then Edwards or Kurt or Earnhardt or Kane or Larson if we take Reagan again, or we take 2 drivers from the Chase Elliott McMurray pack.
Yeah, I think as far as that goes, with that type of opportunity, I would much rather swing as far as going with the David Regan and then putting in Kurt Busch.
Dude, I completely agree with you. Like, I think that's just a smarter strategy with what we've seen how NASCAR scored and how you win in NASCAR. Like, it's just a better strategy to take a car in the back and get a car up front versus 2 middle pack cars.
Yeah, and I definitely, for all the viewers out there, this week, to me, the strategy that's going to be taking down the tournaments and winning the cash games, are going to be the studs lineups this week.
I think so too. So you want Kurt instead of cousin Carl on this team?
I mean, as far as that goes, it really depends on what you want to do, man. I mean, because we already have 2 JGR drivers if we want to stack it up with JGR again. Mm-hmm. But as far as Carl Edwards goes, he does have some really good history here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. He is starting from the 7th position, so we could go that route as well.
Yeah, I mean, for the purposes of this, let's go ahead and put Edwards on the team because I already have a team that's with both Bushes. So put Edwards on there and make a little JGR stack, and there you go, kids. That lineup is entered into the $5 lug nut, and hopefully it takes us down some money. Hopefully my other lineups, then I'll have to split it with Lear.
Yeah.
Oh, whoops, wrong one.
But yeah, as far as, I really haven't had the chance, the opportunity I did talk a little bit about Kyle Busch, but, I really wanted to take an opportunity to talk about this because there's going to be a lot of people debating, whether to Kyle Busch or not to Kyle Busch. And I think you're going to be an idiot if you do not put Kyle Busch on your lineup this week because, Rowdy's vehicle, as far as that goes, he was disqualified, post-qualifying inspection because the rear toe alignment exceeded the maximum allowed by NASCAR. Mm-hmm. So there is no doubt that the reigning Sprint Cup champion is upset. He's that type of person. And his 3rd place finish last week also probably really irritated and pissed him off. But now, he has to start at the back of the field with the fastest car in the whole entire, race. So, Kyle, he's going to be fired up. He's all going to be about the place differential and possibility of him even winning the race, which that increases his percentage of why you do need to own it this week. And he has raced 17 times at Atlanta Motor Speedway with 2 wins. And I know, like I said, he's expensive. He's $10,100. But there's going to be no other guy in the field this week that's going to give you the possibility of winning the race, plus 39 places of place differential. I mean, that's just crazy. So
plus with that, fastest laps, and if he does it relatively quick, as fast as that car was and as easy it is to pass on this track, he should be able to do it quick, which means you can get laps led points as well, fairly quickly.
He's just all the metrics. This guy has the chance to win all of them.
I mean, we're talking about like a possibility of a 125 plus point day.
Yeah,
like easy for him in NASCAR if this goes right.
without
And
a doubt.
it's like I can never pass on a driver that has that potential, and like it's not even potential as much as it should happen. Like
Right.
if he just like as long as he doesn't get caught up in a wreck, you're going to be fine by making that play. And ultimately, I think that's the decision that people are going to have to come down on. And what's crazy, Lear, is I think people are going to under-own him this week. I don't know why, but I think people are going to go on the Jimmie Johnson Harvick train and leave him alone. I just have this feeling.
Well, I mean, if they do, they're definitely stupid and not a normal DFS NASCAR player.
Well, I mean, we've seen a lot of casual DFS players come in, and
Yeah.
they're people
But
that just
literally,
love
that name, that team, that starting position should scream out to every single player out there, put me on your lineup.
Dude, it's one of these instances, and we've said this before in NASCAR and even in football. It's one of those instances where he should be 100% owned.
Yeah.
Like it really should happen. Like, and there's
Especially
there's
that
not even
DraftKings cleared it up.
Yeah, I mean, dude, there's not even a contrarian play. Like, he's starting last. Like, I don't know how. Like, he can't go negative. Even if he wrecks, he will not go negative because he's starting last. I cannot leave him off the lineup. I just can't do it.
Nope.
It's lighting money on fire, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But, anyways, guys, that wraps up another week of the Rubbin' is Racing Daily Fantasy NASCAR Show, brought to you by FantasyDonks.com. Remember to like, favorite, share, and subscribe on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And Larry, you got anything to add?
I was almost going to say subscribe, but we appreciate you guys taking the time to watch our show. I know it can be a little bit lengthy, but that's what we love to do. We love to give you guys all the information, the data, the research that we've done. Also, I don't know if you want to discuss it a little bit, Papa, but if you guys watched this last week and you took our advice, myself, Big Papa, and Adrian, you won yourself some money. So, make sure that you share with your friends. That's what we like to do is bring you guys a show. And the best part is we bring it to you for free. So, the content is something that you don't have to pay for. But if you want to pay us to advertise any of your products, you can always get a hold of us. My Twitter handle is @JamieLear. And if you need to learn how to spell it, it's at the end of the show here. Yeah. But have a great weekend, everybody.
So thanks for tuning in. Have a great weekend. It's @Big Papa, BIGPOPPA, DB, and number 8 if you want to get a hold of me, or just email us on FantasyDogs.com or leave a message on the YouTube channel. With that said, guys, thanks again for tuning in. Hopefully we make you some more money this week, and hopefully you're enjoying the shows. Have a good one, guys.
Have a great weekend, everybody. Enjoy the race tomorrow.